The pressure's mounting for Prince Andrew after his Newsnight interview at the weekend. Although she's not making any allegations against Prince Andrew himself, one of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged victims has now urged the Duke of York to face questioning from the FBI. Charities and backers are now threatening to pull out of working with the Prince on a lot of his projects. We talked about this a lot yesterday, Janet, Sarah, Colleen and I, but obviously you weren't here. I know you saw the interview, the Newsnight interview. What do you make of that and where this story's running to now?
Well, it's not going away. It's really interesting. I watched it the next night with my partner and his reaction was completely different to mine. I looked at that interview, it was like a car crash. It was dreadful. But I think he did his best. I mean, a few years ago, I actually sat next to Prince Andrew at a dinner and talked to him for quite a long time. And I thought he was a really pleasant person, but not the brightest light bulb in the box. And
surely he'd be advised. I mean, you know, maybe he isn't. But
I think he thought he was doing
serious.
Yes,
surely
yes.
He would have had advisors. You'd been saying, you know, make sure you say this, don't say that. He'd have been practiced and well rehearsed. Surely.
Well, he was well rehearsed in a very limited amount of things that he said. I mean, he did say the same thing over and over again. But interestingly, when you go onto social media and you look at his wife's, ex-wife's reaction, Sarah Ferguson, she has come out 100% in his favour. She says, I'm deeply supportive and proud of this giant and principled man. Now, whatever we might criticise Princess Andrew for, and there's plenty to criticise him for, he has been an extraordinary good father. And that family, Sarah...
And very supportive of her.
Yeah, he's been very supportive of Sarah and she of him, and goodness knows both of them have been widely criticised.
Wasn't she hinting that had she have been here,
yes,
that interview would never have gone ahead?
Yes, I read somewhere that she is alleged, because obviously we don't know for a fact, that she's alleged to have said to one of her friends, well, if I'd been in the country, this interview would never have taken place because Andrew is no good at that kind of thing and not so adept at thinking on his feet. And from that, I take to mean, you know, not that bright. But what obviously, he has subsequently said he feels enormously sympathetic and he feels, you know, he feels for the women who are making these allegations.
He was almost forced to say that because he didn't say any of that
he should
in the
have
interview.
said it.
And that was one of the biggest criticisms after that interview on Twitter from the general public, just saying he showed absolutely no empathy, sympathy for the victims.
Yeah, but I don't take that as arrogant. I don't think that's an arrogant thing. I think that's just an enormous 100% blunder.
Yeah.
And that's the best way. But I do think that, sorry, just to finish off quickly, I do think the charity, the sponsors pulling out of his very good charities is pretty shabby because those charities help people starting up their businesses and they help young people. And for those sponsors like KPMG today to announce they're thinking of pulling out, it's just shocking.
They may be able to find better role models, but I was going to say to you, I mean, I'm thinking about his daughters, and I do understand that that family has gone through a lot, and they are a really strong unit. But imagine being his daughters, and he's done this interview. I mean, the impact on them is horrendous. What do you think he should do now? Do you think he should cooperate with the FBI? Like, I'm just interested in your point of view.
Well, if I was in his position, yes, I would cooperate with the FBI. But at the end of the day, Prince Andrew has not been accused of anything.
No.
His crime, which we find so offensive, is that he went to New York to tell someone who'd been
He has been accused. He's been accused
with a 17-year-old.
of sleeping with a 17-year-old girl, which in America is underage.
Yes.
He denies it.
But it's not underage in this
accused.
country, which
No.
I think is another issue with the people watching all of this here. Yes, it's underage in America and in some states. But what people find extraordinary is that to end a friendship, he went to a house, and if you read...
That's what I said yesterday. Why
you read some
4 days?
stuff online that in some of Jeffrey Epstein's houses, the soaps were shaped like willies. And I think, well, hello a minute. If I was staying in a house with soaps shaped like a willy, I'd think, what's going on upstairs or downstairs?
What about the Queen, Colin? And there's pictures of the Queen... I mean, listen, it could just be a shot of her on a horse, but, you know, it's this lonely... Looks like a very lonely queen.
Thoughtful,
pensive queen. You know, what do you think the impact will have on how we feel generally about the royal family, on particularly the, what do I call them, the lesser, the less well-known...
The lower orders.
The lower
Well,
orders.
I was thinking
yeah.
of this today. I'm not going to go into obviously too much the Prince Andrew thing because I'm not up on it the way you are, for instance. I have my opinions, but I'm not going to say them. However, as far as the royals go, and people say, oh, is this the end of the monarchy and all this scandal and they shouldn't be doing this and we shouldn't have them, hasn't that been royalty since the beginning of time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you imagine if they had loose women when Henry VIII was king? We'd be headed. We'd be like, oh my God, he didn't like us, he's just chopped our head off. So, somewhere down the line, future generations will be going, oh, and in those days he was accused of this and the Queen did this.
He ran off with her.
And they didn't get on and they fell out. And it's kind of like we've never had a clean-cut royalty.
Yeah.
There's always
dysfunctional
been scandal.
family, like so many. We asked you what you thought. Have you lost respect for the monarchy? 54% of you, yes. 46, no. So
No, I think it's pretty evenly balanced.
Yes,
Like
and
Brexit.
somebody, people are saying that you can't blame the monarchy for something that one person has done.
That's right.
But I do think that they might consider not paying them all quite so much.
That's a whole other stuff.
That's
The subject
they'll
that they're moving
streamline.
me on, Janet, because I agree. I'd like to talk about